On a crisp October afternoon in downtown Philadelphia, the wind carried with it the scent of roasted peanuts, car exhaust, and just a hint of the coming winter. The sidewalks were busy with the shuffle of heels, the clang of cafe cups, and the hurried breath of people with somewhere to be. But amidst all the noise and movement, Ethan Walker moved differently. He wasn't in a rush. He wasn't checking his phone. He was pushing a wheelchair. Inside it sat his 11-year-old son, Liam. Thin and quiet, wrapped in a faded gray hoodie that once had his soccer team's name on the back. The boy hadn't walked in nearly a year, not since the car crash that stole both his mother and the movement in his legs. Ethan, a once celebrated architect with a magazine-worthy condo and a fridge full of takeout menus, had built skyscrapers taller than his own hope had become lately. They had just left yet another appointment, one of many that promised new hope and cutting-edge possibilities. But all they ever delivered was another copay and the same quiet phrase, "I'm sorry, there's nothing more we can do." They were cutting through a narrow alley to avoid the rush hour crowd. The alley smelled of damp bricks and something fried from the diner next door. Liam said nothing, as usual. He rarely did anymore. Not about food, not about school, not even about the new kids his father tried introducing him to in the park. He just stared straight ahead, eyes blank. That's when the voice came. "Sir, I think I can help your son walk again." Ethan stopped, not abruptly, but with the hesitant, almost involuntary instinct of someone who isn't sure if they actually heard what they thought they heard. He turned slowly, eyes narrowing toward the shadows near a dumpster. Out stepped a little girl. She was barefoot, on concrete that was nearly cold enough to sting. Her hoodie hung off her frame like it had once belonged to someone 3 times her size. The edges of her jeans were torn, caked in city dust. Her shoes, if they could still be called that, were stitched together with safety pins and duct tape. Her hands were tucked in her sleeves, her posture steady but not aggressive. She looked like she'd been through more winters than she had birthdays. Ethan instinctively placed a protective hand on the wheelchair's handle. "I'm sorry, what did you say?" The girl didn't flinch. "I said I can help your son." Ethan scanned the alley. Was someone filming this? Was this a prank? A scam? But there was something in the girl's face, something calm, too calm for a child standing in garbage-scented wind talking about miracles. He opened his mouth to speak again, but Liam beat him to it. "Dad," Liam said, not loudly but clearly, "maybe we should hear her out." Ethan blinked. It was the first voluntary sentence his son had spoken all week. Not about food, not about school, not about anything. He looked down at Liam's face, soft, tired, and yet curious, not afraid, not desperate, curious. And then he looked back at the girl. "What's your name?" he asked, not quite knowing why. "Maya," she replied. Her voice was quiet but unwavering. "I don't want anything from you. I just want to help." In the heavy silence that followed, the city around them kept moving, horns blaring, people laughing, dogs barking somewhere in the distance. But for Ethan, time briefly stood still. Who was this child? Why did Liam suddenly want to follow her? And what exactly did she mean by help? If you believe stories like this matter, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us your thoughts below. Your support helps us keep telling stories that touch hearts. Ethan's grip on the wheelchair handles tightened. His instincts kicked in, not the professional, rational side of him that negotiated multi-million-dollar building contracts, but the father in him, the one exhausted from holding onto a hope that kept slipping through his fingers, the one who'd learned the hard way that in a city this big, kindness could often wear the costume of manipulation. "We're leaving," he said flatly, nudging the wheels forward. "Come on, Liam." But the chair didn't budge. Liam had placed both hands on the armrests and planted his feet, useless as they were, firmly on the footrests. "Wait, Dad," he said quietly. Ethan turned to him, startled. The boy's voice had barely echoed outside their apartment walls for months, and now he was asking to stay in an alley with a stranger? Ethan looked at the girl again. Maya. Barefoot, underfed, steady-eyed. "You can't help him," he said, sterner this time. "I know this game. You say something hopeful. We give you cash or food or whatever it is you want. Then you disappear." Maya didn't blink. "I don't want anything," she said calmly. "I'm not selling anything. I just... Listen, and sometimes when people feel seen, they heal." Ethan scoffed. "Seen?" He's seen every doctor in this state, neurologists, orthopedic surgeons, rehab specialists. You think a conversation is going to fix his spinal cord? Maya tilted her head. Her voice didn't rise, but it deepened somehow, as if carrying something older than she looked. He hasn't given up because his body is broken, she said. He's given up because his heart's been ignored. That made Ethan freeze. He opened his mouth to object, but nothing came out. Because deep down, a small part of him, the part that still sat beside Liam every night even when the boy said nothing, knew there was truth in it. He stared at her. How do you know anything about my son? I've seen you, Maya replied. You walk this alley every Wednesday after his appointments. You don't like the crowds. You always stop when his scarf slips off. You wiped his cheeks when the wind made him cry. Ethan's jaw clenched. That was supposed to be between him and his son, no one else. I live behind the church at 13th and Pine, she added, near the shelter, been there since last winter. Ethan noticed now. Her hands were red and dry, fingers curled slightly from cold. There was a quiet dignity in her, a lack of begging, no expectation, just presence. My grandma used to help people, she continued, her eyes distant now. Not with money, just with time. She said pain hides where people stop looking. So that's where we'd go. Alleys, parking lots, bus stations, the places that feel invisible. Ethan exhaled through his nose. He wanted to believe this was nonsense, that it was just the ramblings of a girl who'd read too many books or watched too many online miracle videos. But still. Your grandmother, he asked cautiously. She passed last year. Stroke, Maya said simply. Since then, I kind of just go where she used to go. I hum her songs. Sometimes people feel better after. Sometimes they don't. But either way, they're not alone. He looked at her then, not as a threat or a nuisance, but as a child. A child without shoes, without backup, offering something she didn't even name. Behind him, Liam spoke again. Dad, please, he said, his voice hoarse but clear. Let's just see. The weight of those words hit Ethan harder than he expected. Because Liam hadn't said please in months. Not for dessert, not for screen time, not even when the pain meds wore off. His world had been quiet, gray, flat. Now, for the first time, something flickered in him. Ethan swallowed hard. The air in the alley suddenly felt thinner. You really believe you can help him? He asked, his tone softer now. Maya didn't answer with bravado. She simply nodded. No promises, no tricks, she said. Just come with me. If it feels wrong, you leave. No questions. Ethan turned back to his son. Liam looked up, eyes steadier than they'd been in a year. Ethan sighed and ran a hand down his face. Every bone in him wanted to say no, to turn and walk away. But the one thing stronger than his skepticism was Liam's voice. All right, he said quietly. We'll go. But the moment anything feels off, we're out. Maya nodded. Deal. She turned, already walking. The wind tugged at her oversized hoodie. Ethan hesitated, then wheeled Liam after her into a side of the city he hadn't walked in years. He had no idea what he was doing. But maybe, for the first time in a long time, neither did fear. They walked in silence, the uneven sidewalk rattling the wheels of Liam's chair with every bump. The light dimmed as Maya led them away from polished storefronts and down streets that seemed to lean inward, narrow alleys strung with forgotten flyers and rust-streaked drain pipes. Ethan's mind kept racing ahead, looking for the con, the trap, the hidden agenda. But Maya walked with no urgency, no anxiety, only purpose. They turned a final corner, and Maya stopped in front of an old stone building, half covered in ivy. The paint on the front door had long peeled away, revealing layers of city dust and weather-beaten wood. Above the lintel, faded letters once spelled out West Side Public Music Library. Now, they were barely readable. This is it, Maya said. Ethan raised an eyebrow. A music library? It used to be, she replied. Nobody comes here anymore, but Miss Odell stayed. Said music never leaves a place, it just waits. Maya pushed open the heavy door with effort. The hinges creaked like they hadn't moved in decades. A gust of cool, earthy air greeted them. Moss, old books, dried flowers, and something citrusy beneath it all. Lemon balm, maybe. Ethan hesitated before pushing Liam inside. The light was low, filtered through high windows that hadn't been cleaned in years. Dust danced in sunbeams like forgotten memories. The space had clearly once held beauty. Wooden shelves lined the walls, though most were now empty or bowed under the weight of time. In the center of the room was a rug, worn but clean, and beside it sat a woman in a rocking chair. She was old, impossibly so. Her skin was the color of polished bronze, her hair coiled into a tight bun wrapped with a navy scarf. One eye was milky white with blindness, the other sharp and soft all at once. She wore a sweater with holes in the elbows and had the kind of presence that made you lower your voice without realizing. As they entered, she didn't rise, but her face broke into a smile. "I was wondering when you'd bring him," she said, her voice warm, smooth, and gravelly with age. Ethan stiffened. "You were expecting us?" Miss Odell turned her good eye toward him. "No, sir. I don't know the future, but I know the sound of someone whose hope's wearing thin. It rattles the air." Maya moved quietly toward her, settling on the rug beside the chair like she belonged there. "This is Liam," she said, gesturing toward the boy. "And that's his dad, Mr. Walker." Liam nodded shyly. Ethan offered a faint nod of acknowledgement, still unsure why he hadn't already turned around and left. "I don't do magic," Miss Odell said, as if reading his mind. "I don't promise healing. That's never been mine to give." Ethan folded his arms. "Then what exactly are we doing here?" Miss Odell gestured toward Liam. "We're listening. We're remembering." Maya added gently, "This is where people remember who they are." Liam looked around, absorbing the space. Something about the place quieted him, not into silence, but into attention. There was something sacred here, something unspoken. Miss Odell looked at Liam. "May I touch your knees?" she asked. Liam glanced at his father. Ethan hesitated, but his son nodded. The old woman leaned forward slowly, her movements deliberate. She placed both hands gently atop Liam's knees. Her fingers were weathered, thick with the lines of a life long lived. She closed her eyes, and then she hummed. It wasn't a song Ethan recognized. It didn't even have a tune in the traditional sense, but it was soft, low, and filled with a kind of aching warmth, as if the melody had been passed down through centuries by hearts that had learned how to endure. Ethan stood still, unsure whether to speak or stop this entirely. Then Liam twitched. It was subtle, a flicker in his right leg, a ripple just above the knee. Liam gasped. "I felt that." Miss Odell kept humming, another jolt, this time both knees. "It's like warmth," Liam whispered. "Not pain, just something waking up." Ethan's heart thudded. "That's enough," he said, stepping forward. This could be dangerous or psychological. He's impressionable. This is false hope." But before he could move closer, Liam raised a hand. "Please, Dad," he said. "Don't stop it, not yet." It wasn't a plea. It wasn't rebellion. It was something else, certainty. Miss Odell opened her eyes. "Your son isn't chasing hope," she said gently. "He's chasing memory. His body remembers being whole. The pain forgot, but the bones, they know." Ethan felt his defenses crack just slightly. Liam looked up at the woman. "Can I try to stand?" Ethan panicked. "No, you could fall, hurt yourself." "I want to try," Liam said again. Miss Odell nodded once. "We go slow, only as far as you feel ready." She shifted her hands beneath his thighs. Maya moved beside Liam, offering balance but not holding. It was up to him. Ethan stood frozen. Everything inside him screamed that this was madness, that they'd end up in the ER, that this would destroy whatever little hope Liam still had. But Liam pushed down on the armrests, his face tightened. His jaw clenched, his legs shook violently, and then one foot touched the ground, then the other. He didn't rise fully. Not yet. But he wasn't limp. He was bearing some weight. Tears welled up in Ethan's eyes, not because he believed, but because Liam did. And for the first time in almost a year, he didn't look like a boy broken. He looked like a boy remembering, a boy who just might stand. Liam pushed down on the arms of the chair, jaw clenched so tightly his teeth trembled. The room held its breath with him. Miss Odell remained still, one hand resting lightly on his thigh, her other held open by his side, not to lift, not to carry, but simply to let him know someone was there. Maya knelt near his right leg, not touching, just watching, present and ready if needed. Then, slowly, as if drawn by something older than muscle memory, Liam's body rose. It wasn't graceful. His knees buckled inward and his arms flailed slightly for balance. But his feet were on the ground, holding him. He wobbled, breathing hard, sweat already gathering at his brow, but he was standing. Ethan gasped audibly. The noise escaped him before he could suppress it. He stumbled back half a step and then sank to his knees, unable to tear his eyes away from the fragile figure of his son, upright, trembling, alive in a way he hadn't seen in nearly a year. Liam took a breath, deep and deliberate. Then he lifted one foot. It moved an inch, then another. The heel of his shoe scraped across the worn rug. His leg shook violently beneath the motion, but it moved. A step. Not much, but enough to break something wide open in the room. Miss Odell whispered, "There it is." The next moment came faster. Liam's knees buckled, his weight gave out, the movement too much for his atrophied muscles. But this time, he didn't fall into a wheelchair. He fell forward. Ethan was already there. He caught his son mid-fall, wrapping him tightly in his arms. Liam's body trembled against him, part fear, part effort, part joy. And for the first time in months, maybe longer, he was smiling. "I felt it, Dad," he gasped, barely able to speak. "I really felt them. My legs." "I did." Ethan buried his face in Liam's shoulder, his chest heaving with a grief he hadn't known how to name until now. Not the grief of loss, but the grief of possibility returning, the ache of hope he'd buried for too long. Miss Odell leaned back slightly in her chair, folding her hands in her lap with the calm of someone who had seen this before. "The body," she said softly, "follows belief more than we admit. Most people just need permission to trust what they still have." Ethan looked up, eyes burning. "Who are you people?" Miss Odell smiled, one side of her mouth curling upward like a lullaby half remembered. But she said nothing. Maya shifted on her knees, still watching Liam, her expression unreadable. Ethan turned to her. You knew this would happen?" "No," she said plainly, "but I hoped." Ethan studied her. "Where did you learn this?" Maya looked down, tracing a worn patch on the rug with her finger. "I was born with a twisted foot," she said. "Couldn't run, couldn't balance. Kids stared, grown-ups whispered. I used to wrap it in scarves just so I didn't have to see it." She glanced back up at Ethan. "My grandma, Miss Odell's sister, she didn't tell me to believe in magic. She didn't promise me anything. She just sat me down right here on this rug and said, 'Stand if you can.' I did. I never limped again." Ethan's breath caught. "And now you help others?" She nodded. "Only where people forget how to believe." He swallowed. "Do you live here?" Maya shook her head. "No, I sleep behind the shelter sometimes, or under the stairs at that old post office on 9th. If the bakery's in a good mood, I get bread ends. People don't always notice me, and that's okay. I'm not lost. I'm just needed where people forget how to hope." There was no bitterness in her voice, no blame, only clarity and a quiet kind of power. Ethan looked at her, really looked. This girl, no older than the kids in Liam's grade, had nothing. No roof, no backpack, no adult standing behind her. But she had purpose. He felt a mix of awe and heartbreak rise in his chest. "You shouldn't have to live like that," he said, his voice thick. "You're just a child." Maya gave a tiny smile. "A lot of us are. The world just forgets that when we're not in clean shoes." He stood, still holding Liam, who had relaxed into his arms, exhausted but beaming. "I have money, resources, people. I can give you a home, a school, food, anything." Maya rose, brushing her knees. "Thank you, but I'm okay." "You're not okay," Ethan said, almost angry. "You're freezing. You're alone. You deserve better." "I know," she said gently. "But this is where I'm needed. Don't you want to be safe?" Her answer came softly. "Safety is sweet, but purpose feeds me more." Ethan didn't know what to say. How could a girl who had so little sound so whole? He reached into his coat pocket, pulling out a business card. He handed it to her with both hands, as if afraid she might reject the offer if he didn't offer it with enough humility. "My number," he said. "If you ever change your mind, or if you need anything, no questions asked, just call." Maya took it. She studied the raised lettering for a moment, then folded it carefully and tucked it into her oversized hoodie. "Thank you," she said. Then Liam reached for her hand. "Will I see you again?" he asked. Maya's gaze softened. "If you ever forget how to believe," she said, "I'll probably be nearby." Ethan watched as she stepped back toward Miss Odell, who had already begun humming another tune, one neither of them recognized, yet somehow knew. Liam leaned into his father. "Can we come back here?" Ethan looked around the dusty room, now etched in his memory not for what it was, but for what had happened within its walls. "I think this place will find us," he said, "when we need it most." They turned to leave. Ethan helped Liam into the chair again, though the boy insisted on walking a few shaky steps across the floor first. At the door, Ethan paused and looked back. Maya stood framed by light filtering through the broken windows, her form small but steady. She didn't wave, didn't smile, just stood, watching, not waiting to be thanked, just witnessing. The city outside had changed in the hours since they'd entered. Or maybe it hadn't. Maybe it was just Ethan who saw it differently now. The graffiti seemed softer, the shadows less ominous, the wind no longer sharp, but brisk with possibility. And somewhere deep inside, a flicker of belief took root. He didn't know how this story ended, but for the first time in a long time, he wanted to find out. The days that followed felt like borrowed pages from someone else's story, someone luckier, lighter. Each morning, Liam woke with more energy than the last. At first, it was just a few careful steps across the living room floor, gripping the edge of the couch like a tightrope walker. Then across the hallway. Then, one morning, from the elevator of their building to the front sidewalk, steady but cautious, his feet tapping against the pavement like a drumline of hope. Ethan watched all of it with a stunned reverence. He didn't tell many people what had happened in that crumbling old library. Not because he wanted to keep it a secret, but because he wasn't sure how to explain it. When he tried, usually to a therapist or a friend with good intentions, he found himself fumbling for words that never quite landed. Some called it a psychosomatic breakthrough. Others labeled it spontaneous nerve reactivation. A doctor from Penn even suggested it might be a trauma-induced hallucination of mobility, an emotional illusion so convincing the body responds. But none of them would explain how a boy who hadn't taken a step in over 300 days suddenly stood, walked, and smiled, all in the presence of a barefoot girl and a blind old woman who claimed only to listen. Ethan stopped trying to justify it. Some truths, he realized, lived beyond evidence. What mattered was this: Liam was walking again, and not just physically. He laughed now, ate with appetite, made eye contact, asked questions. At school, his teacher invited him to speak during morning assembly. Parents and students crowded the auditorium, some standing along the back wall. Liam approached the mic carefully, one hand holding the podium. His voice was soft but certain. "I was in a wheelchair for almost a year," he said. "Everyone said I might never walk again. But one day, in an alley, a girl looked at me like I wasn't broken. And that changed everything. She didn't fix me. She reminded me I wasn't something that needed fixing." There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Ethan sat in the back row, hands clasped tight, listening to his son speak truth with more grace than most adults he knew. But even in the warmth of that moment, one question still tugged at him quietly. Where was Maya? He hadn't seen her since the day they left the music library. He'd gone back twice the following week, then 5 times the week after. But the door remained shut. Dust gathered on the handle. No footprints marked the path. It was as if the room had folded itself back into the city, disappearing with the sound of Maya's soft voice. He checked shelters, soup kitchens, churches on the south side. He asked volunteers, showed a picture Liam had sketched from memory. A few people said they thought they'd seen her. Small girl, big eyes, hums a lot. But no one knew where she stayed. No one knew her real name. No one ever saw her twice. "She comes and goes," a woman at a food pantry told him, "like wind through broken glass. Leaves something behind, though." Ethan didn't stop searching. It was late on a Sunday when he finally saw her again. He was driving home from a client meeting on Roosevelt when he spotted a flash of a too-big hoodie curled against the side of a boarded-up laundromat. He pulled over. Maya was sitting cross-legged on the sidewalk, arms wrapped around a boy who looked about 7. The boy was shivering, his arm cradled close to his chest like it had been hurt. Maya was humming softly, head tilted toward him. She didn't flinch as Ethan approached. "You found me," she said without looking up. "I've been trying," Ethan replied. He knelt down beside her. "Is he okay?" "He fell off a fire escape," Maya murmured, "trying to get into an empty building, looking for food. I've been keeping an eye on him until he can move again." Ethan looked around. No adults, no protection. Just Maya, alone again in the cold, taking care of another child no one else seemed to see. "You can't keep doing this," he said softly. "It's not safe, not for you." Maya looked up at him. "This is where it hurts, so it's where I need to be." He reached into his coat pocket and handed her an envelope. Inside, a debit card preloaded. A key to an apartment near Fairmount, small but warm, stocked with food and extra bedding. No expectations, no rules. "Just in case," Ethan said. "Not because you need to change, just so you have a place to rest when you're tired of being strong." Maya didn't respond. She took the envelope with both hands, tucking it into the lining of her hoodie with care, like it was something sacred. "You remind me," Ethan said after a moment, "who I was, before I forgot to believe." Maya's eyes shimmered in the streetlight. "Maybe," she said, "we're all just meant to remind each other." He nodded, emotion clawing its way into his throat. "If you ever need anything, I'll be nearby," she said, standing and guiding the boy gently to his feet. "If someone close to you forgets how to believe again." She turned to walk away, her frame melting into the blue-gray of twilight, the hum of her voice trailing behind like smoke. Ethan stood alone on the sidewalk for a while, the key to that apartment no longer his to hold, but hers to use when ready. Not as rescue, not as pity, just as presence. That night, back home, Liam stood at his bedroom window, gazing into the soft shadows of the alley behind their building. Somewhere deep in the city, he thought he could hear it, that faint hum again. Gentle, familiar, like the beginning of something that hadn't finished yet. He smiled. He didn't need to see her to know. She was near. The moonlight spilled across the hardwood floor of Liam's room, casting long, quiet stripes through the slats of the window blinds. He leaned forward just slightly, fingertips pressed to the cool glass, eyes scanning the alley below, not searching exactly, but receiving. As if watching wasn't about seeing her, but about letting himself believe she still existed somewhere out there. Behind him, the soft murmur of the television filtered in from the living room. His dad watching the evening news, or pretending to. The smell of cinnamon lingered from the tea Ethan had made but forgotten on the kitchen counter. It was a peaceful night, the kind Liam hadn't felt in a very long time. And yet, within that stillness, something stirred. Not fear, not longing, just awareness, like the way some people know when rain is coming, or when someone they love is thinking of them. Down in the alley, a breeze picked up, rustling a plastic bag that had caught on the edge of a fire escape. It twisted in the wind, spun once, then floated gently to the ground. Liam watched it settle, then smiled again, this time wider, with something more than just recognition, something like trust. He wasn't sure if Maya would come back. He wasn't sure if she needed to, because somehow, knowing she had been real, that she had found him in a moment when he felt invisible, was enough to make the silence feel full, not empty. He whispered softly, almost like a prayer, "Thank you." Then he turned away from the window, crawled into bed, and for the first time in a long while, fell asleep to the hum of hope instead of the echo of what was lost. Sometimes, the strongest hearts are the quietest. They don't speak loudly or wait for applause. They show up, they stay, and they remind us of who we are when the world forgets. If this story moved you, share it. Let's remind the world, kindness doesn't need an audience, just presence. Subscribe for more stories that restore faith in humanity. Leave a comment. Has someone ever helped you in a quiet, unexpected way? See you in the next Heart Touch story.